Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone, this is Fayaz Ahmad. Today I'm going to discuss about how to write an effective article for IGCSE English language. So to learn something beneficial, I request you to have patience and stay until the end of the slide. Dear viewers, there are three types of articles. First, formal, next, semi-formal, and third, informal. My discussion of today will be based on semi-formal and informal. There are four purposes for writing an article. First can be giving your opinion. Second, if you want to give any advice or make any suggestion, you can write an article. Third, article can be based on a problem you are dealing with and you are suggesting a solution. And fourth, you can write a narrative account, writing about a place, or travel writing, which is another word. In other words, called travelogue. The writing of an article has four sections. First, it's a title. Second, introduction. Third, main body. And four, conclusion. These four combinedly form an article. But I'd like to let you know that for IGCSE O-level examination, title is not very significant. You can write an article without the title even. Sometimes the title is given in the question paper. If you wish that you will write a title by your own, it's up to you. Main thing that is evaluated, assessed, that is introduction, main body, and conclusion. Still, if you are intending to write a title, be sure that your title is not weaker one, because effective title makes the writing interesting. No matter whatever the informations you have put in your writing, the title comes first to attract the audience. So if you are trying to advise students on how to stay prepared before exam, there can be the ordinary title like how to prepare for exams. But if you are an extraordinary writer, if you want to grab the reader's attention, your title can be like this: shorter but smarter. Exam nerves cures. Cure has a significance because it seems like that you are going to provide a solution, a treatment for the stress a student faces before exam. So next can be, if you are trying to persuade students about utilizing summer holidays, you can write ordinary title using how to make summer holidays more enjoyable, but effective title could be summer holidays loom. It's approaching near. Summer holidays are coming very faster, nearer. Okay. To inform the viewpoint of teenagers about television, you can write an ordinary title, what teenagers say about television, but be technical like this. This is TV. TV represents television. And this TV seems like that here is an abbreviation. T represents teenagers, V represents viewpoint. So that becomes smarter than what teenagers say about television. The first important thing for a writing that you are now going to be assessed for your writing. So first important thing to be assessed is introduction. Introduction is the first part that creates interest in reader's mind to carry on the next part of the writing. And that's why introduction should be shorter but smarter. It has some basic structure. I'll be dealing with these things. If you can follow the structure, your introduction will be smarter. But without following any structure, you will fail to grab the reader's interest at the very beginning. So introduction has two things inside it: intro sentence and transition sentence. So let's understand what is an intro sentence. It does not give clear explanation of the topic. The first sentence of the article, in the very first paragraph, it does not give clear explanation of the topic. While writing introduction, try to write something the reader can identify with. This can be the opposite of the theme of the article. This involves the reader and make them want to continue reading. Your first sentence, will be written in a way the readers find interest and the reader finds sufficient interest to carry on the next amount of writing. What is a transition sentence then? If I create interest in intro sentence, then what will be the transition's purpose? It is something like that acts as a link between introduction and main body of the article by preparing the reader what is the article about. Now that you have the reader's attention, you can bring them back to reality by beginning to introduce the serious side of the topic using a transition sentence. For example, you are telling the reader that you are trying to deal with a trouble, you are focusing on a spatial problem, and in the transition sentence you are going to give a hint that the solution is also available. You are going to give that solution in the next following paragraphs. That's the task. So let's understand intro sentence and transition sentence through the example. Let's get an intro sentence. Intro sentences can be of many types, like it can be a question, do you long to finish your homework quickly so you can collapse in front of your TV screen? Or like that, if I am writing about any kind of technological issue, like technological impact on children, then I can start like this. How do you feel the virtual reality overshadowing your children's imaginative faculties? It seems like that I'm talking to a parent about the technological dark impact over children. An intro sentence can also be based on a quotation. It can be like a famous saying said by somebody, or directly a proverb like pen is mightier than the sword. We don't know that who said this, but we know that this is something like wise words and told by many people, but origin, who told it, it's not known. You can also use this kind of quotation, or any person's personal saying, like you can mention the name if you have that name. Alec Byrne once said, it is possible to store the mind with 1,000,000 facts and still be entirely uneducated. So that could be your starting sentence of an article. There can be provocative statement that provokes you, that makes you think so deep. When you say like this, many students are self-confessed couch potatoes. So students keep on thinking, how come this true? Why students are compared with couch potatoes? And if I claim this logic, that is, technology is making humans more primitive. So this can create a question in reader's mind that how come it is possible that technology, a part of advancement, how can take me to the primitive age? So this is a kind of provocative statement that helps you think twice, thrice. And now, to learn transition sentence, I have to bond the two things, intro, transition, into one paragraph so that you understand better. So let's take an example, like if I write an article on stress, how could be the possible introduction? It could be like, look, no stress. Don't we all wish we could say this every day of our lives and mean it? Nowadays, stress seems to be the one word that's on everybody's mind. Be careful to focus here. This is the transition sentence. How this has transformed the feelings, let's see that. Here we have found a question, rhetorical question. Don't we all wish we could say this every day of our lives and mean it? Now the writer is creating an excitement in you, making you feel that yes, I wish. And then he summarizes, he says like that he or she says like that they are going to give you a solution to get rid of that stress. Nowadays, stress seems to be the one word that's on everybody's mind. Now, as a reader, you know that the writer will be dealing with how to manage our stress and live happy. So get another example of intro transition combination. So think that the writer has written an article on pollution. What could be the possible introduction then? Like this: be honest, how often do you daydream about being at the wheel of an open-topped sports car when you should be revising your business studies? Now, the problem is here. You don't find any relation with pollution to business studies. You don't find any connection between these two. This is the successful strategy to engage your audience, that the topic you are dealing with a specific topic, but at the very beginning you are hooking them with something alternate, like this one. Here you are talking about revising your business studies, not focusing on revising business studies, rather daydreaming about sports car. Now comes to the solution. Now I'm coming to the solution. But it is high time we thought about how car is polluting the environment. Now it comes to your mind that you are now starting getting the idea that writer is trying to talk about pollution type something, that how car is creating a negative impact in environment. So this is the way we have to write an intro sentence, and of course that should be followed by that should follow a transition. So next example, intro transition combination. If I write an article on corrupted journalism, as we can see that today journalism has become biased. We don't find the real news. Every newspaper belongs to some rich class, some top class, some high profile people. Okay, every newspaper talks about every particular party. So that's why it seems like that journalism is no longer today is found unbiased. So if I write on corrupted journalism, then we can write like this. See this, that I have used a quote. Pen is mightier than the sword. If that pen is a journalist, it speaks against injustice and corruption. But how can that pen be considered mightier if the person holding it is unethically sold to the dark minds of corruption? So now it becomes transition sentence. Now I'm getting to know that the writer is trying to tell something negative about about the biased journalism, that how journalists are acting nowadays. So we are going to get those ideas. So if I take another example of intro transition combination, article on studying abroad. Are you among the baffled persons who are fascinated as well as hesitant about studying abroad? Stay cool. Some early attempts to deal with the common foreign issues may get you into your contentment. This very first question may create a curiosity in reader's mind that yes, it could match those people who are really feeling hesitated whether to go abroad or stay at home. So if this is for those confused people, you are just knocking their confusion through this question, and then at the same time you are telling that you are going to give some solution in the next paragraphs. And here comes the use of transition sentence. Now, the most important part, the main body. Let's know some ingredients what are needed for main body and keep it as a screenshot and memorize the code. For writing a main body, you need these things: personal anecdotes, emotive language, rhetorical question, fact, exaggeration, comparison, and tone of three. We have more to know: humor, inclusive pronoun, quote from expert, direct addressing, idioms or colloquial language, statistics, and finally command sentence. Let's go to the detail of every segment. A personal anecdote. For organizing these things, I have taken example from the IGCSE past paper, and I have also mentioned the year name so that you can read those things. If you are facing trouble that I don't have sufficient examples, go through your past paper, IGCSE past paper, and there the text itself, an article. Nowadays, examiners set question paper based on articles the most, so you can find resources there. So let's take an example of personal anecdote. I noticed this first in myself when I was trying to decipher some notes I had written in a meeting only a few days earlier. Parts of them I just couldn't read at all. It's not just the creeping arthritis in my thumbs, which doesn't help. It's more that my fingers seem to have forgotten how to do it properly. In personal anecdotes, writer shares his or her own experience, anything happened in the past, but in short. So this is something like this: personal anecdote, writer's personal experience that is sometimes amusing. You can write emotive language. Emotion refers to happiness, sadness, anger, frustration, many things. So I have got an example from 2015 Jan text 1. Certainly, I'll miss the intimacy of letters, the nostalgia of cursive lessons in schools, and the beautiful scrawl of a well-practiced signature written with a pen. So this intimacy, the word miss, creates evokes an emotional feelings that touches the reader's mind, and the readers also feel for the writer. Rhetorical question, a question that requires no answer. It is done for highlighting something, for letting the reader think so deep, for emphasizing. Example taken from 2010 May text 2. Many new college graduates say that the first day of work is the hardest because they don't know what to expect. Will I be forced to regurgitate everything I learned? Will my boss be a tyrant? Will I be late and forever labeled a slacker? So this is a kind of thing that we find question here that requires no answer, but it is highlighting the fear that could be in a fresher's, a graduate's mind. Next is fact. Fact, whose synonym is something true. The readers use these things to give support to his claim. Reader has claimed something, and he gives then the reference. He uses some references like facts to strengthen his argument. Like here, the writer is trying to highlight that how significant handwriting is, and for that he says that critics say. This critics say that somebody has studied on that, and that's why it might not be wrong. So critics say the decline of handwriting is the death of a more romantic era. It's not the writer's own opinion, it's critics. The word critics, especially the S, represents that many people thought about that, not one. So this outcome, this announcement might not be wrong, that decline of handwriting is the death of a more romantic era. Next is 2016 May text 1. Based on two long-standing national surveys of high school and college students, Twenge and her colleagues found a steady decline in people's concerns about the environment. Now, Twenge and her colleagues found a steady decline in people's concern about the environment. But based on what? Based on two long-standing national surveys. So it was a survey. This decision or this thinking was the outcome of two long-standing national surveys. So that's why we can also consider that that might also be true. So facts are something that is true. Exaggeration, in another word, that can be called hyperbole. Hyperbole is used to emphasize any point, to intensify the depth, to intensify something, the trouble, or any other thing. If anything you claimed is not true, it could spell disaster. So in this example, spell disaster. How could it spell disaster? If anything you claimed is not true, for example, in job sector, if you claim that I know this thing, I know how to operate a computer, but in the office, boss finds that you have no knowledge regarding computer. So if that time it happens that the boss is trying to take action against you, like he or she might fire you from the job. So firing a job cannot be considered as spell a disaster. Disaster is something severe, something terrible. But that is told that losing a job is not a good option. Losing a job in another way is a great loss, a mental trouble, financial trouble. That's why it could be considered as spell disaster. A next example to you, in front of your screen is that the first time I flew a helicopter solo, my knees were knocking together. So it could be that the writer was feeling afraid. He was feeling a bit chill in his mind, and it cannot be possible that the knees are knocking together. Knocking together means creating a huge sound, that if I knock two metal object or any other object together, it creates a sound. So putting fingers together and just knocking the knees doesn't create any sound like that. Or when somebody is afraid, that thing is not seen, that the knees are actually hitting one another. It seems it is found in cartoon series where we find this kind of view, that the characters, when they are afraid, their knees are knocking together and the sound is emitted from that. My next point is comparison. Comparing, like previous age and today's age. Previous age and today's age. Like 20 years. So our next point is comparison. Comparing two things to times or any other dissimilar objects or thing. Like in this example, the writer has compared two age, like 20 years ago and what is today. 20 years ago, a $300 Montblanc pen was one of the most envied and costly graduation gifts. But now, today, few people are interested in pens anymore, even expensive ones. So this is a comparison that today, no longer the situation of 20 years ago is found. The tone of, and the next is tone of three. In another word, it's called list of three. Tone of three is the term where consecutively three verbs or adverbs or something like that, adjectives, are used in a sentence to create an effect. Like here you got an example, and while some pathways in our brains will deteriorate with the decline of handwriting, we'll develop new ones as we swipe, double click, and abbreviate our way into the future. So these are three verbs together used to create effect. And then another example, I have stuck with them through thick and thin. Let's be real, more so the latter. cried for them, sacrificed sleep and for them, and suffered a handful of anxiety attacks. So this cried, sacrificed, suffered together is called tone of three, that is creating an effect in reader's mind. The readers understand the depth of the message the writer is trying to portray. And next is humor. Humor. Who doesn't want to laugh? Your writing should make the readers smile, because smiling faces are very smart to see. Humors are given sometimes that so that the writer feels a bit amused, because sometimes the writers talk about any serious issue, and in that seriousness, sometimes to make the environment lighter, the writer uses humor. Here is an example taken from Naples, 2011 May, text 1. There was no sign of Skipetary, the famous backsnatchers on Vespers, who doubtless sensed that all they would get us was some dirty underpants, half a bar of chocolate, and a tattered copy of H.V. Morton's A Traveler in Southern Italy. So that creates a humorous impact in reader's mind, because when the reader finds out that this person who are actually devastated in a place unknown to him, that is called Naples in Italy, okay, and feeling trouble everywhere, that he could feel the he was just expressing his dissatisfaction, his frustration. In that case, how could he say that in that insecure place the criminals might assume that he had some dirty underpants, half a bar of chocolate? So this is amusing for a reader in case of frustrating atmosphere. In this frustrating descriptions the writer was discussing, on that case, this gives a hint that the writer is not all 100% dissatisfied with the travel. He was feeling a bit entertained because he was safe amidst criminals. Next is idioms or colloquial language. So next item for writing an article is colloquial language, which is another term called a kind of idiom or phrase, informal expression. Informal expressions are needed to make the writing friendly and easy accessible by the audience, especially youngers. If you are addressing to the young audience, of course you have to use some language according to their level, which they are used to in day-to-day life. Like in this sentence, you'll find some examples like that. The findings go against the widespread belief that environmental issues have hit home with today's young adults. So, and another example, I have stuck with them through thick and thin. Let's be real, more so the latter. So this kind of colloquial expressions creates the writing friendly, and the readers feel interested to read. Next is quote from expert. When you are arguing about something, trying to establish any idea in reader's mind, of course, expert's quote acts as a proof, acts as a support, acts as a base. So here, get the example. A lot of young people also simply don't spend that much time exploring nature, said Beth Christensen, a professor who heads an environmental studies program. This text was talking about teenagers, especially the youngers' reluctance in taking part in any environmental activity. So to prove that one, Beth Christensen's quote has been used, that a lot of young people also simply don't spend that much time exploring nature. They don't go outside. That means as they don't go outside, they don't see the nature, and as they don't see the nature, they have less feeling what happens to the nature, no matter its destructive one. So to prove this thing, the writer has used a quote from an expert. Direct addressing, a good weapon to engage your sleeping author, that you are addressing them through the word you. When somebody addresses anybody, anyone, calling the word you or any name or any other thing, that person is hooked, who doesn't move his eyes or focus to anywhere else. So that's a very good weapon to engage your sleeping author and to persuade them. Here are two examples for you. What's more, you will never find a child who can write but can't read. Again, another, if anything you claimed is not true, it could spell disaster. So through this, I understand that the writer is talking to me. So as somebody is talking to me, it's a courtesy that I should focus, I should look at him. Next is inclusive pronoun. It's similar as personal pronoun we. When the writer represents himself and his family members with the word we, like we went for a visit in the last month, so the writer refers to himself or his family members or friends. But when the writer includes the people, includes the reader through the word we, it becomes inclusive pronoun. Here we find that, however, as we become more dependent on computers and as the speech recognition software improves, here this we represents the writer, himself, and the audience. And that's why audience feels interested. He feels that the writer is caring about him. The writer is also involving him. So this is also a great option that can be used to make the writing engaging. Statistics. The way fact works, statistics do the same. That means give support to the writer's claim. Statistics, in another word, it's called numerical data, like 80%, 60%, 32%. The information that carries a number like this, it is called statistics. Like you have got an example from Teenagers and Technology 2012 May, text 2, but phones do more than simply text. Of course, more than 80% of phone owning teens also use them to take pictures, 60% listen to music, 46% play games, 32% swap videos, 73% access social networking sites, and mostly Facebook, 50% more than 3 years ago. So this is a clear indication that this kind of reference creates a positive vibe in readers that the claiming might be true. The claiming the writer is doing, the writer's claim might be true because he has brought a real reference, many references. So this works as a reference. Command sentence. Another weapon for persuading, for engaging your audience. When you used imperative sentence like this, that be realistic, don't just exist, do something, these words like that, they are telling you to do something and you are doing something. Be realistic. When the writer is telling that be realistic, you become realistic. When the writer is telling that don't just exist, you do something, you feel like that, yes, I have to do something, I need to do, do something rather than sitting idle. So command sentence is also a good option to be used in your writing. So if I focus on everything in detail, that is our next option is bullet points. In main body, you can use bullet points to for many uses. Like bullet points are used when you would like to give a lot of information but in shorter version. So when you try to say something in step-by-step point, using step-by-step points, that time you use bullet points or numbered lists. Why this is used? It makes it easier to read. The readers find it better to read. Appearance becomes user-friendly. Like this one you have got here. I have taken this one from Teenagers' Contribution Towards Environment. From that text I have taken this one. So this is simply an example. You will get bunch of this type of examples in your IGCSE past paper. Subheadings. In case of formatting your article, subheadings, another option it tells what the text is about. Subheadings can be bolded or underlined, and of course it makes it easier to read, like bullet point does. So here is an example, like I have taken this one from Volunteering with Relay International, and there they have focused on the focused on every separate thing using a subtitle or subheading. This subheading is giving me a hint that what is this paragraph about. I can feel interested. I can have an assumption about the whole piece of writing based on the subheadings. Linking words. So linking words, I have listed a few. There are a lot of linking words. If you go online and search linking words, you will find a bunch of lists about to be used. So here is a list that when to use these linking words. It has many uses. So check out online and search with the particular keyword and understand the sentences that in which case what type of linking word is used. So your article should carry some linking words. But be sure that at the end, in conclusion, you don't write in summing up. To sum up, this kind of usual linking word is completely prohibited while writing an article. We'll be focusing on in the chapter of conclusion. When you are writing each paragraph, you should have a plan that what should be the paragraph about. You don't just close your eyes and keep on writing. You should have a plan, and that plan is a kind of topic sentence. Topic sentence is the first sentence of each paragraph that gives a hint that what is the paragraph about. Perhaps you are not using any subheading, you are using topic sentence. So from the topic sentence, the reader should understand that this paragraph is going to deal with this or that. So here we have got an idea that it is necessary to begin by finding a theme or topic sentence which sums up the main idea of the whole paragraph. These topic sentences can be made into one paragraph and then be developed into to form a whole article. That means when you start planning, drafting, you plan in a sentence and you carry on that sentence and turn it into a whole paragraph. That planned sentence could be considered as a topic sentence. Let's get some example of topic sentence. Before that, read this extract. It is a paragraph. 2 million microscopic bugs live in our beds, making a meal of our bed linen and anything else they find on the sheets. Our wardrobes support a breed of moth that not only eats through our clothes but disguises itself by weaving a coat from whatever it is eating at the time. This system breaks down when it moves from one garment to another, but is still extremely successful. Our eyelashes support a whole ecosystem, and these three are just the tip of the iceberg. So from this paragraph, we have come to know that this paragraph is about insects, bugs, that is hampering our life, and damaging our things, that thing. So if you would like to add a topic sentence before the paragraph, so at the start you could write like this. See the red marked one. If you think you are clean, think again. Now, from this sentence, a reader may understand that the writer is going to talk about something that is related to cleanliness, freshness. Okay, so after that he has brought the impact of germs, icebergs, bugs. This topic sentence could be like another one. Most of the time we only worry about the insects we can see. That means the readers will now get an assumption that the writer will now talk about the insects we can't see. And that happened here. Microscopic bugs. Okay, eyelashes support a whole ecosystem. These three are just the tip of the iceberg. So it is here the size of the insects are told that we have already got a hint, and that is fulfilled here. We got a hint from here that the writer is going to give a description about the insects we can't see, and that happened. Okay, so here the main body ends. Now I'd like to carry on. Conclusion, the last part of a writing. Like introduction, your conclusion should also be shorter and smarter. It has also many structures, many ingredients that can be used for to make a successful conclusion, because last impression also matters. So for writing conclusion, you have many purposes. While writing a conclusion, what do you want? You actually want to summarize your article, or you want to give your own opinion at last, or you leave the reader to think about something. And for doing these things, to accomplish these purposes, you have many options to use. Like, first, you can refer back to an opening sentence, opening statement. You told something at the very beginning of the article, and same thing you are telling at last, however, in modified language. You can look into the future. You can make the reader look into the future. Suppose you are letting the reader imagine that if this continues, what might happen in future. If environment pollution, if car pollution continues like this, then what would happen in the future? If journalists are not unbiased, if journalists don't hold their pen for justice, then what might happen in the future? Like this way, you can suggest a new angle. Any problem has a solution. It's the people, it's the type of people who sees in what way. So one way, one is seeing another thing, like like in the previous day, I have seen that a lot of people are returning to their home in this troublesome atmosphere of coronavirus, where it is a really very dangerous act that the people return to their respective home in villages, huddling together, a great mob together in launch and ferry and bus and train. So some might call it that this is ridiculous, this is dangerous, this is quite stupid. Some other person might find something new. They can think that this is a reunion with the family. This is a safe return to the family, because it might happen that because of coronavirus, the people returning to home would face trouble if they would stay in town, because it would increase the number of people. The government would not be able to find any option to feed them. That's why they returned home. So if this kind of suggestion is used that they should return home, and if you consider this, that yes, of course, that is also true, they should return home, because they won't find any support here in the town. So, rather, they can work in the field at home and find something for them to eat. So this is called a new angle. Everything is seen by every individual from a new angle, and that you can suggest in your conclusion. Make an original observation. New angle and original observation, both are almost similar. I have already given an example of people returning from town to village. You could write and that can also be told based on my experience, based on my surroundings. Make a humorous comment. So if you would like to make the reader laugh at last, you can comment something humorous which will make them feel smiling. Okay, so next is quote a famous saying. Of course, you can use here a quote, but be sure that if you use a quote in introduction, it's better that for beautification you don't use quote in conclusion. Both the starting and the ending would be similar. Then you can also leave a question, but be sure that that question is letting the reader think it makes the reader think. So leave that type of question. Get an example of conclusion. If it is an article on pollution, like that car pollution, which was already mentioned, if you can rewind the video and find out that, and then again come here to match article on pollution, it could be like that, the ending. So when you do actually get behind your own steering wheel, remember to consider the environment. Happy driving. Again, article on studying abroad. It's told that your sprout of dream is ahead of you. Let it not decay but flourish. Abroad, studying is going to be amazing. So let's see the shortest version of conclusion. This is shorter. These two examples are shorter but smarter, and at the same time very much engaging, because you're talking to the reader using you. Then you are wishing them, and you are also using imperative sentences here, like let it not decay but flourish. So these all are very much engaging. Shorter makes your writing smarter. Keep it in mind. Now I'd like to discuss about the marking plan in section B. Marking plan in section B. There are 3 assessment objectives. One is AO1, AO2, and the third one is AO3. Assessment objective 1 carries 10 marks, where you are marked based on whether you have understood the texts and the information, and whether you have used those informations in your writing from the text. But be sure that you don't directly copy from the text. You just copy the ideas, but write in your own. So for copying ideas from the text in your own version, you are rewarded 10. Next is AO2, 12 marks. This is for the purpose and audience. That means, what is the purpose of writing this article, and who might be the audience? Is it appropriate for the audience? Is your writing style appropriate? Have you followed the 3 bullet points? Have you followed the rules and regulations that article needs? So when you follow all the rules and regulations, we have already study it, so you can feel sure that you have completed AO2. And of course, be sure that according to the type of audience, your language should be presented. And finally, your writing will be evaluated based on grammatical sense, that whether you are properly writing every word, accurate spelling, you are paragraphing properly, the grammar is okay, and punctuation is also okay, sentence structure okay, vocabulary, there is various range of vocabulary, you are not only repeating the same words again and again, and of course clear, understandable writing. So everything is formed into AO3, and then it will be carrying 8 marks together. This 10, 12, 8, it's 30. Let's take an example of sample Edexcel IGCSE question. This is May 2015 1R, section B. In this year, the texts come like lighthouse keepers and working in Antarctica. So in that year, we got a question like write an article for a school or college magazine about people who live and work in difficult conditions. So in Antarctica's text, living and working in Antarctica, the writer told about working in a hostile environment like the cold one, or Antarctica, where the water becomes frozen and the smelling sense vanishes away. In that place, staying and working is really very difficult. And in text 2, the writer talked about the life of the lighthouse keeper who had to go through a terrible job in the previous days when there was no use of technology. That time the lighthouse keepers had to live an inhuman life. So they had to stay there and work for the safety of the people in the sea. So based on this text, this question came in the exam. So here 3 bullet points given. 1, right, what sort of work they might do. the question asked, a good student, after getting the question, will mark the main point in the question. Like, write an article for a school or college magazine about the people who live and work in difficult conditions. Be sure that you see the question very carefully. Here it's told that people who live and work, not only work, it's live and work, both the things. It's a combo of living and working in difficult conditions. So based on that, our two takes were given. Like, the people who worked in Antarctica, they had to live there. The people who worked in lighthouse as a lighthouse keeper, they had to stay there. So the question should be written, the answer of the question should be written based on that format. What sort of work they might do. You can talk about people who work in difficult conditions and also live there. Like, here you can bring two examples from the lighthouse keeper, then people of who work in Antarctica, or you can bring many other examples, like like the fishermen who stay at sea and also who spend nights and days at sea, and for their livelihood, for living. You could also add some points by your own. So you can add points from the text and your own. Combination of all the things will be together. So what is good about their job? You talk about their good side of their job, a challenging side of their job, and what unusual difficulties they might face. You talk about the difficulties they might face, like the troubles a fisherman might face, a lighthouse keeper might face, a person working in Antarctica might face. So you have to form these 3 bullet points into paragraphs. So before that, you have to do the drafting here or in any other place. Some students do drafting here, like they do like this, and write the point that what to write about this, and then turn them into a paragraph. So you can use this space for drafting, or you can use the space below the question, and then you can proceed the writing. So when you start drafting, be sure that all the points are related to the text, and some are new. Okay, and some are from the text, and some are new. So then you will face no trouble in drafting, because like here is told that what sort of work they might do. You were suppose talking about the lighthouse keeper, you are talking about the person in Antarctica. So find out that it has become easy, that you got idea, the drafting you got from the text. And you can add some more point from your own, like you can say like fisherman, you can add the point of fisherman, and then you'll get 3 professions to discuss about, and then tell about their good sides, tell about the difficulties they might face, these people, and you have created an article. Very easy. So if you write about this type of article, about this topic, we have from the mark scheme, I have just focused on some bullet points from the mark scheme, that if you wanted to write about this May 12 to 2015 1 hour, and with these 3 bullet points, you have 3 bullet points, you have 3 layers of plans. You can you can also do the drafting like this listed way in a page, and then carry on your writing. So here are many points which can be used for your writing based on May 2015 1 hour. Be sure that you draft at first and then proceed on writing, because drafting is the main attempt. Without drafting, you won't find your writing organized. So next is a sample, article sample. Here you will find all the ingredients, many ingredients used here, which is needed for writing a successful article. The topic is eat right, live longer. I'm not focusing into this. I'll be focusing on the next slide, because there I'll be explaining what are the ingredients used. You better take time to read this and then go for annotation. So in this extract, we have found many ingredients used for writing an effective article. First, in the first paragraph, we find intro sentence and transition sentence that is helpful for starting an article. In this introduction, we find the presence of both the things together, leading the reader, giving them hint that the readers are going to learn something very much important in the following paragraphs, so thus engaging them. We find short headline with alliteration: eat right, live longer. So this alliterated headline is very much catchy. Already I have told that Edexcel examiner, they don't focus in writing titles. So for your satisfaction, you can write it. Gives a positive impression about the writer. You use rhetorical question, that is also found here. So why is not everyone dumping the junk? We have more examples of rhetorical question. Why are not we changing our lifestyles? Next, we have found subheading. There are more subheadings here. Short on time, eat yourself healthy, fast food equals fat. This is providing sufficient information about what is the paragraph about. Fast food equals fat. This is telling us that this paragraph will tell us that fast food, how it is contributing to obesity and just by increasing fat in human being. Short on time is going to tell about how why people are addicted to fast food, because they actually have no time for spending after food. Next is eat yourself healthy. So here it's told that eating something healthy is very much beneficial. Suggestions in the last paragraph, that is, people should eat healthy foods. And next, we find next is an example of hyperbole. And next you find colloquial language, a little bit of what we fancy. You get quote from expert. And finally, you get facts and statistics to support the writer's argument. Overall, this has turned into a conversational tone, which is very much engaging. So now, it's your turn to start writing. So why to wait? Start writing your own writing and be a writer. Thanks for watching. If you have any question, you can find me at this email address, fayazahmad.elt@gmail.com. Assalamu alaikum.